the chamber this week. A casino heist that's a real family affair. A continuing conversation about a long-anticipated game. Discussions on how a good DM deals with success and failure in an apocalypse-style system. And whatever nerdy tangents we get going on. This week, we're really turning up the heat and bringing our most quality stuff. Join us for a top-notch episode. And if it's not a top-notch episode, there ain't nothing you can do about it. All this and more on Fandom Roulette. Hey everyone, welcome to Fandom Roulette. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
Hey Cody, how have you been, my man?
I have been well.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm just keeping my head above the water of sickness, you know? Like you get like those,
yeah.
like you're feeling a little, right? So
well, I mean,
I'm managing.
If you go from like negative, 5 before wind chill all the way up to like 60 in a weekend, I don't know what to do with this shit. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But good thing global warming doesn't exist anymore, right?
Oh my god.
That was a joke for friends at home. Hey everyone, welcome to Fan Roulette. It's a podcast where we talk about a myriad of nerdy things, including history, video games, tabletop RPGs, and whatever nerdy stuff that we want to get into. So Cody, what nerdy stuff have you been up to this week?
Well, besides surviving illness, I have been doing D&D prep, and I'll talk about the other stuff in the video game section.
Whoa. What
I know.
D&D prep stuff?
I prepped for the campaign that you're in.
Yeah, which to be named.
Yeah,
to be named
we don't have a quick and snappy title for it yet.
It's like the X-Files, but in a fantasy universe where weird stuff already kind of happened.
Right.
But anyway.
Right, so that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to?
I've been playing D&D. What? And then recently Netflix threw up Ant-Man and the Wasp, so I revisited that one, and yeah, it was still very entertaining.
Nice. That's a good one.
I still enjoyed it, right? Yeah, I mean, it's like right in the middle for me, right, of Marvel movies. And then I rewatched today because I was feeling, I'm also fighting off illness, so I was like, I'm gonna put on a cheer me up movie. And it was Thor Ragnarok, and boy, howdy, that movie's the best.
Nice. That's also a good one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was a good romp.
It's so much fun, and it's so weird and silly. I love it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest snub of 2017 was not giving Jeff Goldblum at least a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Because, man, when he's there, he just crushes it.
Yeah, his parts were so good in that movie.
Yeah, I know, man. We're getting close to the Oscars, I think, right? It's like this weekend or something.
I have no idea.
It should be interesting. It's gonna be a weird, rare Oscars where like no one's gonna be happy. I think.
Why is that?
Yeah. Well, okay. So first off, there's not a host, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, so Kevin Hart was gonna be the host, and then like he tweeted out all this like very like homophobic and like transphobic stuff, so they kicked him out, which is good for the record. And then they were like, now we gotta find a new host, and then they were like, hey Kevin Hart, maybe you want to come back, and then they were like, just kidding, we're not gonna have a host anymore. It just, how sometimes there's years where it's like there's like a real front runner of a movie, and everyone's just kind of been like, okay. Like, we accept it. Like, there's always going to be people who are going to be upset at movies here and there. But, like, this year, there was never really a front runner. And everyone, like, every single nominee for Best Picture has, like, some weird little aspect around it. So, like, for instance, if, like, the movie Roma wins, then that means that Netflix wins its first Academy Award, which is, like, one of Hollywood's nightmares. And, like, if Black Panther wins, then that means a superhero movie wins the Best Picture, and that's another one of Hollywood's nightmares. But like Bohemian Rhapsody is like a very middling movie that was like directed by like a very bad person, and so like that would be some people's nightmares. And then there's a couple that are just like boring and safe. So it's like whatever movie wins, like I don't think anyone's gonna be really that thrilled with the result. It's gonna be bizarre, I think.
Huh. That's so weird.
Those are Joe's Oscar takes.
Ooh, those Joe Oscar takes.
Oscar takes.
Joscar takes.
That was
I'm gonna manipulate that.
Oh, I know you are. I can't wait. and then here's the thing. And then when I come back and everything I literally just said was wrong, and then I could just be like, whatever. It's prediction.
It's like whatever. It's meme.
Spicy memes.
Yeah, like hey, no one takes us seriously. Like,
well, I sure hope not.
Yeah, Jesus, please not. But anyway, shall we dump it? Shall we? I said, shall we dump it?
Let's dump in. No, we're dumping.
Let's dump it.
Let's dump right into history.
Yeah, we're jumping in. We're going all the way back, Cody.
Man, are we gonna take a big old history dump?
We're gonna take a big old history dump. So yes. Cody.
Yeah.
I want you to dust off your Jinko jeans.
Okay.
And I want you to put on your closest flannel, probably, because we're going all the way back to the year 1991. Yeah.
Gasp. I was but a young boy.
Yeah, but weirdly enough, Cody.
Yeah.
It's like the 90s are now very much history.
You know, as someone who's going to be turning 30, this saddens me.
I know, right? Isn't that bizarre? Someone pointed out that like we are as far away from 1985 as Marty McFly was away from 1955, and I was like, oh shit.
Amazing.
I hated that. But anyway,
I love it.
So this season on the podcast, I'm talking about heists. And
where's the van?
I'm sure everyone was thinking, is like, how come he don't know casino heists? Said the collective of our audience. So I was like, a guy gets the casino heist in there, you know? So I'm saving my favorite heist for last.
Well, of course. You always got to save the best for last. That's Showbiz 101. Yep.
But this one's pretty great. So this one is called I've seen it called a number of different things. But this particular place I discovered it refers to it as the family business.
So I thought you were going to say Ocean's 11.
No, but
damn it.
It's the one that felt like, I read like about a few casino heists, and some of them were like not as heisty as I was hoping they were going to be. This one felt like the most heisty to me personally. But this took place in Las Vegas, Nevada. The thieves were Royal, Jake, and Bobby Hopper, and the amount of money was approximately $1.1 million. So yeah, I think one of the reasons why people like just kind of associate casinos and heists is just because of the fact that it's like, it's kind of been built into our media that like heists movie or like casinos are like the best protected things in like the entire world. It's like basically outside of like government facilities, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's always that moment in the heist film where they're talking about, it's like, there are like cameras every 16 like inches away from one another, and like
there's laser beams.
There's laser beams, and there's like 4 guys who like walk around the back, and all they're designed to do is like make sure that like no one is counting cards or whatever. And then like every like 23 minutes, like cases full of money like go into secret elevators that need like 4 swipe cards and like 3 thumbprints to operate. You know, like I think there's a lot of prestige built around like how advanced, you know, the technology is for the protection of these you know, casinos, because a lot of money go through. So in 1991, a gentleman named Royal Hopper decided that he was going to use both of his sons to play act their way into robbing a casino. So Royal Hopper worked as a security guard at the Stardust Casino, and basically as he was working, he very carefully like tracked the procedures, the protocols, intervals of the casino. So the first step involved Royal asking his one son to pretend that he was a robber while he was escorting money through the casino with a coworker. And so basically Royal was going through the authorities. His son Bobby runs up, pretends to be an armed robber, takes the money, and escapes. And then Royal got to report the case to the authorities so they would never assume that it was his son. Because it was like, oh man, a masked guy came and like, this is the guy reporting it. So why should we suspect them, right?
Exactly. Perfect crime.
Perfect crime. They got away with $150,000, but Royal was like, that's not enough money.
Oh no. Their hubris.
Oh, hubris big time. So basically this next time he was like, one son worked great. Second son going to work even better. So they decided that they were going to intercept an armored truck that was carrying lots of money. They wore wigs and beards to escape identification, and they basically were able to distract the truck driver with smoke bombs. They grabbed 2 bags containing more than $1 million in cash. But here's the thing. The house always wins, right? So basically within, a couple of... It looks... People debate about the timelines that I've been reading from here and there, but it seems like most people agree that within a couple of months, all 3 of them were caught. And Royal Hopper was sentenced to 17 years in prison for the heist, which is probably a little bit better than other things that might have potentially happened to him from stealing money from a casino. But yeah, this one, it's your pretty classic heist fare, in that it involved mistaken identities, lots of planning, and observing all of the various, ins and outs of how the casino would work. There's always that section in the beginning of the movie where they spend about 15 to 20 minutes like planning everything. And yeah, this is a pretty standard one, although the fun didn't last very quickly, and it goes to show that stealing money doesn't pay. Cue preachy music right here.
The worst. What are you a cop?
Me?
You have to tell me if you're a cop or it's entrapment.
No, I'm not a cop. Dude, I've spent the past like 3 years talking about like how awesome crime and criminals are on this very podcast.
Yeah, but that's your trick.
Was that my cover? Was that my cover to pretend like I wasn't a cop, was to talk about criminals and how much I...
Yeah.
Good, you caught me, Cody. You done got me.
Yeah, and it's entrapment if you don't tell me you're a cop.
That's true. Yeah, this was like a relatively short story, but it hit all of the like the big like things that I always associate with robbery or heist rather, which is casinos, lots of money, like, disguises and plans and intricate plans. And yeah, I do think that if it weren't for their hubris, they probably could have gotten away with the original $150,000. And I don't think that it would have been quite as big a deal were it not for the fact that they tipped over an armored van and got away with over $1 million. So yeah, hubris, man. I don't know about you. I can make $150,000 last, man.
I would love $150,000. That'd be great.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about this relatively short history story? Yeah, sorry, guys.
Questions? No.
On my end.
It's fairly thorough, but I do have to ask.
Yo.
Favorite part in Ocean's 11?
Oh man, favorite part in Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Is
I was gonna ask like what's your favorite casino heist movie, but thinking about it, I only know Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11, yeah.
Or I guess the other Ocean's movies.
The Ocean's franchise.
Ugh.
Yeah. God, I mean, I love. I get really geeky when they like get into like the details of like how the place works. And
yeah,
like you see like all the interior shots of like you need 2 guys and they both have to have like a badge and like they both have to have activated thumbprints, and it's like just the thought that it's like it seems to me that like the order of operations is like they invent stuff for like the military / like government buildings, and then it seems like the second place it goes is just immediately to casinos,
Well,
Like,
yeah, because of all the things that need to be protected, military stuff,
mm-hmm.
casinos.
Casinos, yeah. Well, I mean,
Everything else is just kind of whatever.
they have so much money in them. Like, it's insane, right?
Right.
And it's that whole thing too. Where it's like, oh man, it's the dream, and like, the house always wins. Like, that's the kind of moniker of casinos. Still, like, people think that they're gonna be the ones to like hit the millions because you always hear about that one guy who did it. What's your favorite part of Ocean's 11?
Man, I'm having a hard time deciding whether or not it's like the setup or the reveal at the end of how, even though things got fucked up, it was all according to plan.
You know what? That is always the thing I love too.
Because like I know, like from an immersion standpoint, it is ridiculous how much Ocean gets away with, like, kind of doing that psychic, like, oh well, you knew, like, I knew that this person was going to do this, which will get another person to do this. Like, it's kind of some weird psychic shit.
It's the smartest guy in the room trope, which is always a fun one. Slash, like, I don't know, man, because, like, I will say this, and something that has kind of always been a frustration to me, at least in terms of, like, tabletop RPGs, is I've always wanted to pull off the perfect Danny Ocean style heist, but because, like, in D&D, there's so many things, like game mechanics, that, like, eventually something's gonna go south, but, like, you don't have that moment of, like, oh wait, it was cool that it went south because I planned it all along. Blaze in the Dark kind of has that mechanic, but, like, everything goes south eventually when it comes to heists, man. That's something I've been learning.
Right. Well, I mean, that even happens in movies too. Like, it's actually, from what I've seen, it's fairly rare that a heist goes off without a hitch,
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, usually, where's the van? The van's supposed to be here, or somebody gets a little too gun happy. There's always something that goes wrong. Or like you said in the last episode, like, someone wants their cut early when they need to lay low. Like,
yeah,
that's, like,
for sure.
I think that's also part of the allure, if you will, of heist movies. Whereas, like, yeah, Ocean's 11 kind of, like, makes you think about that for, like, a second. Like, oh no, something went wrong. But then it's like, aha, just kidding. Yeah, there's some stuff in Blades in the Dark that helps you with that process. But I think ultimately in a game like that, to add tension is to add failure to the heist. So, like, it's very rare to get that kind of satisfaction.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing too, right? Where it's like, I think that the Ocean's movies, like, are very fun because they're slick to watch, but it's like, you read about heists, it's like, no heist like that would actually work, probably. Like,
right. That's a lot of coordination and a lot of things to go right.
A lot of guys, like, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things like that. Yeah. Which is actually something that Lucky Logan kind of addresses in a fun way, which I know I mentioned last week that I watched that movie.
Nice.
They kind of address something like that, without spoiling it or anything like that. But anyways, yeah. So there we go. That's my little heist section for the week. I know the next couple ones I have coming up are pretty fun, but I wanted to have a classic Vegas style casino heist. So that's history.
Rad.
Boop, 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 boop. Oh man. Oh, would you look who it is?
Who came into the office this week?
Well, Cody, they're looking at me with these, like, big dead eyes.
Oh God.
And they have, like, a yo-yo, and now they're planting a seed in the ground and they're watering it, and now a scary tree man has popped out. Oh snap! It's the villager from Animal Crossing.
Oh, I didn't even.
Hey, bud. Oh God, he's attached 3 balloons to himself and he's flying through the air like a crazy person. All of my villager knowledge comes from Super Smash Brothers.
I mean, that checks.
He's mad about capitalism. I know that from the game too. But anyway, he said he wanted to learn. He's writing something. He says, I'd very much like to hear you guys talk about video games, or else I'm going to kill Joe. So please, Cody, talk about video games, my friend.
Well, this week, last week was a very special week.
Was it?
It was a week of all weeks. It was
the rare all week.
Yeah, it was the all week. The All Father came down and gave us the all week, and that was last week.
Okay.
And today I'm here to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes.
Finally. I know
boy.
Everyone's been waiting for this moment, so I'll never talk about this series again.
I'm sure you will. Don't.
That's true. I probably will at some point, but
tell
in
me about
as
Cody.
depth. Wait. That was said poorly. In such great depth.
That's yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So Kingdom Hearts 3 came out last week. I was going to wait because I had only put about 5 hours in when we recorded last.
Okay.
But now I've put in about 20.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of hours.
Yeah, I've spent almost a whole human day
Yeah.
playing this game, and it's so good. It's
okay. Whew, I was scared.
It's 12 years. Yeah, well, you thought I was gonna say something bad, right?
I was. There was a long pause there.
Yeah. Well, I wanted it to be dramatic. Okay. So, Kingdom Hearts 3, for fans of the Kingdom Hearts series, if you're, I'm sure not everyone has gotten a chance to play it or play a lot of it. I think it checks fellow Kingdom Hearts fans. It's 12 years in the running, and it was worth the wait. It's so good. Okay. It did everything. It did everything I wanted. It added the mechanics that I really liked about the Kingdom Hearts series as a whole, and it removed some of the bulkier bits.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, Kingdom Hearts 3 takes place directly after Dream Drop Distance and the Birth by Sleep fragmentary passage in the 2.8 collectors or collection.
Ooh.
Where this is going to be a huge spoilers. I'm going to put a tag in here about when to cut back to, but pretty big spoilers for this game. So if you want to go into this game blind, skip to the next section. Okay. For those of you who are still here, because you don't care about spoilers, you love spoilers. The main bad guy, Xehanort, what a fucking weird ass name.
That's an anime ass name right there, man.
Right? Xehanort with an X. Wow. So he's the main bad guy, which you don't find out until game 4 or 5. And he's this mastermind who went back in time to gather or to tell his younger self to basically get all of these versions of himself in the right place at the right time to basically start this huge war between Sora and all the good guys and Xehanort and all the bad guys.
Okay.
And right before that happens, Sora undergoes the Mark of Mastery exam, which basically is his version of the test to be a Keyblade master. And that was Dream Drop Distance, and he whiffed hard.
Oh no.
Yeah, in fact, Xehanort and his duplicates or his copies or whatever you want to call them basically take him hostage and are like, nah, brah, you're going to be our final vessel for the darkness so that we can round out our team. And so they basically mind warp him while he's in a deep sleep, Inception style.
Whoa.
And so he whiffs. And then Riku, his good buddy, who's supposed to be the chosen one, but fell to darkness, and now he's kind of in that weird in-between state where it's like, yeah, darkness is cool, but like I'm not an asshole, so I'm going to use the light as well.
Interesting.
Right. And so him and Mickey, because this is a Disney game, go and rescue Sora with the help of some old friends from other games. And this game takes place like right after that. He's weakened from his ordeal from the Mark of Mastery, and he basically needs to get strong again. Classic Metroid style. You lose all your powers, now you got to go back and get your powers back.
Okay.
And you go to all these places as a means to kind of unlock that ability, because the thing that he needs to learn is a special ability called the waking, some anime nonsense.
Sure.
And so he goes around to the different worlds. A lot of the worlds are really cool. And he's basically trying to level up again so that this final conflict between light and dark can happen. I'm trying to keep it like as spoiler free.
Sure.
But cuz like that's the direction it's going. And I won't tell you if it gets there. Maybe like off podcast I will, but not here. So basically you go to these worlds and they have, you've seen the commercials. I'm sure everyone has seen the commercials. There's Toy Story, there's Pirates of the Caribbean, Frozen is one of the worlds.
Was Big Hero 6 one of them?
Big Hero 6 was one of them. Yeah, that's actually the last one that I played.
Oh, cool. How was it?
It was fun. The one thing that I really liked about this game that isn't super apparent in the older games is how vertical the maps are. Because there's a lot of like, basically Sora has the ability to defy gravity and just run up walls, which is like so anime and I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
So like a lot of the levels are super tall. Like Big Hero 6, you like go through the whole city and you can run up skyscrapers and shit. Like it's super cool. There's a lot of cool like collectibles inside things you can do. Like I hear the game's pretty long if you kind of stop and smell the roses, so to speak.
Sure. Which I'm sure you'll can do at some point.
Yeah, and I'm playing it on standard. Because I know the last couple times I played a Kingdom Hearts game on standard, there were some like choke points that I was like, I need to like, I don't have time to do this right now. I'll play it on a harder difficulty later. Mm-hmm. So I'm playing it on standard now, and it's been fairly easy. I haven't died yet, so like I probably could have played it on proud mode, which is like the next difficulty up.
Okay.
But the game, like the mechanics, like I said before, it's an action RPG, which is where this fits in the video game section for this season. You can press X to swing your Keyblade. You can pull up magic attacks and use those. You have these there's like several different new moves you can do. Like if you dash into certain objects, you can perform flow motion attacks, which basically are these crazy like spin moves that like do kind of AoE damage, but it's like all like with your Keyblade, so it's all considered like physical damage. The one thing that they did add, which was really neat, they actually added 3 things to combat, which to me is wild. They added what's called form changes, which was kind of a thing in the little demo where if you build up your combo meter, you get like your Keyblade will change form, or like something special will happen with your Keyblade. And like for instance, without too many spoilers, one of the Keyblades turns into like a giant hammer. And you do a bunch of damage with it, but it's slow and clunky. But then like that's the the risk and reward situation is like, do you keep your Keyblade, which is like pretty quick, or like do you need to like do a lot of AoE damage real quickly with like the hammer? And so it gives you it gives you something to think about while you're playing. And then they also included the concept of switching Keyblades mid-combat.
Ooh.
So you get, as of right now, I don't know if this is different for the different modes or if, I level up differently. I'm not entirely sure. You get 3 slots, and you can put any 3 keyblades that you get, and they're all fairly like similar in like strength, but they have like different bonuses and different form changes, so one keyblade doesn't play like the other. And that's really neat because like one of the keyblades, it becomes like a ranged projectile weapon.
Interesting.
And then another, and like I said, one of them's like a hammer. There's like a couple of like really quick ones that do like lighter damage, but you can like reach farther places and you like attack really fast, and it's super cool. And then they also added what's called attraction ride attacks. I think it's attraction something. And
attraction ride attacks?
Yeah, so basically when you're in a fight, occasionally a green circle will pop up on certain enemies. Uh-huh. And if you hit that and it's on a timer, so like as soon as you see it, you want to like run over and hit that person. Sure. And basically you summon a Disney ride with your Keyblade.
What?
Yeah, so like the ones that I know, there's like the bumper carts with like the laser gun on the front where like you shoot lasers at the Heartless. One of them is a carousel where you literally just spin around on this carousel and like all the Heartless get like swept up in the nonsense. One of them is a pirate ship that you just kind of like swing back and forth and shoot water out of it.
That's
like, it's wild.
Space Mountain, one of them?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know what Space Mountain is.
It's a roller coaster.
Is it one with a train?
No, but that was, fun fact, my very first roller coaster.
Because there's like a boss one where it's a train and you ride the train and you can aim the smokestack projectiles at the boss. It's like one of the first bosses you fight. It's wild.
Is it like a crazy mountain?
Kind of.
Yeah, oh god, what's the name of that ride? If I think about it. Yeah, yeah, I remember because when I was a kid, we had like a Disney sing-along song, and I remember seeing that, and then we went to Disney World when I was like 5, and I was like, I want to ride that ride, and then we actually saw it, and my mother said that apparently my face went like sheet white, but like I mustered up all my little kid courage, and I was like, we're doing it, and apparently I freaked out the entire time, but I had a good time.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah, there's like all these wild things you can do in combat, and I'm not very good at switching the keyblades. I often will find myself just using one for a really long time and then being like, oh wait, I haven't tried out this keyblade yet, and then I'll like so I do neglect that, but I've heard from online and some friends of mine who are playing it that you can actually stack up the form changes. So you can like use one sword, get, proc the combo, then switch the blade, proc that combo, and then switch it to the third one, do it again, and then right as you're getting that third one, if you're quick, you can get all the 3 different form changes if they're fairly quick.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Was it Big Thunder Mountain?
I think so. Yeah. I just know it's like a train that you ride, and like the smokestack shoots fucking projectiles, and it's wild.
It's probably that one. All right, cool.
Yeah,
I could sleep easy tonight.
So it's super good. I'm a Kingdom Hearts fanboy for life, so like that's to be expected. Now here's where I'm gonna get flack.
Oh no.
I do have some, like, it's an A+ game. Like, it's great, but there are some complaints that I have.
That's true. Nothing
with the
100%.
game. And I think one of the things is the ratio of cutscenes to combat is heavily skewed towards cutscenes, which is kind of frustrating.
It's a Square game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a Square game,
I know.
but like,
I'm making a joke.
But like the combat is so good. Like there's so many things you can do in combat. And the bosses are like, all the bosses are different from one another. Like I haven't fought a boss where I'm like, okay, this was like this person or this fight. Like there's so many cool things about this game. And like there's just so much cutscenes. Like there was a point towards the end, like, because I'm getting towards the end of the game, and I've been saving based on which day I'm playing. So like I'll go to a new save file as I'm like starting a new day of playing the game.
Okay.
And there was a moment where like I saw the game time and it was like 15 hours, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I saved, and then like back to back it was like 16 hours. So, like, I spent an entire hour without a save point because it was just fucking cutscenes. Which, for those of you who aren't Kingdom Hearts fans, some of these cutscenes are not going to make any sense. Or, if you're not super into a lighthearted RPG, some of these cutscenes are going to feel very childish. Which,
okay,
to be fair, you're hanging out with Donald and Goofy.
With Disney characters, yeah.
Yeah, you're hanging out with Disney characters. It's going to be childish. So, like, if you're not super on board with this game, I think you're going to be a little frustrated with the ratio there. Because I'm even finding it a little frustrating. Because, like, I love the way it plays, and I want to fight more dudes. And it's just like, but wait, it's the end of this thing. We got to tell you a bunch of stuff so that it all makes sense. And it's like, okay, but can I kill more Heartless, please? Like, the other thing.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So you said in the sequel there weren't Heartless, there were like nobodies or something?
Well, they just added nobodies. Like, the Heartless still existed, but for some reason they needed to add a second layer of that, which was the nobodies.
Are they back in number 3 as well?
Yes. The Heartless, the nobodies, and again, you're listening to spoilers. The Unversed comeback, which only showed up in one game. So
sweet.
Yeah, so there's like 3 different enemies. You only see the Unversed for like one area, and that's it. But it makes sense why they're there when you find out what's going on. Okay. Oh yeah, and then the other thing I noticed is because this game is so old, or this game series has spanned so many years.
Sure.
They couldn't get all the voice actors.
Amazing.
So there are some fill-ins, which aren't bad. They're not terrible. But they added some characters and just decided not to give them voice lines.
Oh, okay.
Like I guess they couldn't get, I assume it's Danny DeVito for Phil.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, you go to Hercules Land, whatever they call it, and Phil is there, but he just kind of like smiles and nods. Like, he doesn't say anything.
They couldn't even get a fill-in.
They couldn't even find a Danny DeVito sound-alike to be like, keep it up, kid.
Yeah.
And so it's really like some scenes are really
fill
awkward.
In.
Ha.
If you will. Sorry, Cody. That one seems like it's causing some real pain. Is Haley Joel Osment still Sora?
Yes, and
yeah,
they must have had to do like some kind of behind the scenes CG magic or sound effects magic because
he doesn't sound like an adult man now.
Yeah, because he doesn't sound like an adult man. He just sounds like Sora, which is so weird. Either he's been training his voice to do this for a long time, or they did something to his voice. But
who knows?
Yeah, so like some of the cutscenes are weird because some people really like put their heart and soul into their character. Like the guy who plays Hades,
James Woods.
Yeah, like he put his heart and soul into that, like into his lines. And then like some people are just like, Sora, Donald, Goofy, thank you for coming to our area and helping us with the Heartless.
We're still dealing with this shit, you guys.
Yeah, there are some people who are still phoning it in. But which is a bummer because there are so many cutscenes And, you know, a lot of them are dealing with the Disney characters, like the people who who are phoning it in. I haven't finished it yet. Like I said, I'm getting very close to the end. Like the story beat, like unless something fucking wild happens, I think I'm like at the last stretch of the game. But the combat, like, I hope that Square Enix takes this combat system and reuses it either for a new Kingdom Hearts game or some other game, because it's so fluid and fun. Like, you don't need to be a master of all the different techniques to like have a good time with it. But when you do start to like, oh, I can do this thing in combat, like you start like you feel like a fucking badass.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling in an action RPG.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so overall, game is solid. It is fun. If you're looking for a lighthearted RPG, this series, including this one, is super fun. I only have mild complaints with some of the cutscenes and some of like, and it's very nitpicky, you know, like it's not every scene, but it's so weird to see Phil, who is usually pretty talkative in the Hercules movies, just kind of like sit there in silence and just like smile at you. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, it feels a little weird.
So sometimes it takes you out of that moment, but you know, there isn't a place well, that's not true. There's one place that felt very phoned in, like, oh, we have to put this world in here because money.
Was it Frozen World?
It's what?
Was it Frozen World?
No, actually, well, okay, so the thing about Frozen is I never saw Frozen.
Okay.
But I know everything that I need to know about Frozen by playing Kingdom Hearts 3.
Fair enough.
They even play the Let It Snow song, or Let It Go, and then, and Do You Want to Build a Snowman? So,
okay.
So that area is cool. No, the Pirates of the Caribbean world was very hammy.
That's a shame.
I mean, it's not bad because like Sora's looks cool, and I actually really liked that it feels like, with the aesthetic going on, like it's its own little open world game, like sitting in the Kingdom Hearts, because you get to like go to all these different islands and you get a pirate ship, and that's fucking rad.
That is rad.
Although the combat's kind of weak on it, but like it's still cool to like go around on the ship, but like the story behind why you're there is like very loose. Like Sora could have left at any moment, and
fair enough.
Everything would have either
worked itself out.
Yeah, kind of. Like it's basically the plot of Pirates 3.
Oh, okay.
Where, you know, like Davy Jones and all that, but the only thing that changes is the bad guys and Sora think that Davy Jones' locker, the box with his heart and all that, spoilers for that movie too, is like a plot device in the Kingdom Hearts universe, which is this thing called the black box that everyone's looking for.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But like the rest of it is like beat for beat what happens in Pirates 3. So like that felt a little hammy, and like Sora and the bad guys could have just not gone there and everything would have been normal.
But Cody, it could have been the black box. So anyway, favorite new world?
Ooh, that's hard. I think I really enjoyed my entire time in Rapunzel's world.
Okay, cool.
But I think my favorite in terms of aesthetic is the Big Hero 6 world. I loved going around in this big city and fighting weird cubey things. I never saw Big Hero 6 either, so I guess that's like a thing.
Yeah, I saw it, but I don't quite know what you're talking about.
Right, I don't know. But either way, it was fun, like, being on top of, like, giant skyscrapers fighting Heartless. It was good fun.
That does sound like fun.
Yeah, so it's good. If you're if this sounds exciting, you should check it out. I think it's a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should move on to the...
We should move on to that.
Middle section.
Hey everyone, welcome to the middle section, where we tell you about our social media and such. Boy, howdy, you should probably want to get in on these conversations that we have going on right now. Cody, how would one do that if they wanted to do that?
Well,
wow, that was
there's a couple ways.
Woof.
I mean, I knew what you said. I know the audience knows. But if you're on the social media, you can tweet at us your questions or your opinions. You can tell me how much of a butthole I am for putting any kind of stank on Kingdom Hearts 3. You can do that at @fandom_podcast. That is where we are on the Twitter.
Yes, it is.
You can also send all of your hate to me personally.
Whoa,
or all of your raunchy fanfic of our garbage kids.
Yeah, do that too.
Please. fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com. That is where we get all of our lovely fan letters. Oh. You can also go to www.fandomroulette.com, where you can find information about us. All of our podcast episodes, if you want to give a quick and easy way to get to our podcast. And at the very bottom, if you want to fill out a little form with, your questions, same thing as the Twitter and email, send us stuff and it'll send it straight to our inbox. We are also on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify.
There's so many places.
Yeah, so...
It's almost as if we're unescapable. Join us.
Join us, everybody. Please.
Here, so you did join,
well, yeah, you did. If you're listening, you did join us. But get your friends to join us. Share, subscribe on the different platforms.
All those good things.
Yeah, this is a passion project for us. So we greatly appreciate any and all help from our lovely fans.
It's true.
We are also on other social medias like Instagram, Tumblr, and Facebook.
The Facebooks?
Yeah. And we post stuff. Sometimes you see a little bit of my artwork. I know we just posted something. Yeah. Because outside of doing this, I also am a graphic designer. So I design things occasionally. Yeah, and so in our Pokemon episode a couple of weeks back, we released some of my art from a while back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's really cool. It was awesome. Yeah.
So anyway. Yeah, so that's the middle section.
Yeah, cool. Oh, I mean, sniff. I don't know if it's picking up.
Sniff.
Sniff. Oh, God.
What is that? Joe, what is that awful smell? Sniff.
Yeah, oh, boy.
It must smell like bad human smell.
It smells like a bad human smell. It smells like a dog in the rain.
Oh, dog in rain. My least favorite smell.
Yes, or a chicken that was left out for too long.
Oh,
that's bad stuff. Hey guys, welcome to
a bunch
Kids.
of.
This is a part of the podcast where we roll up a random character using a little book called Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Because dang it, sometimes coming up with characters is hard, and so Xanathar's gives you cool guides to make new NPCs and player characters with sometimes very wacky outcomes, considering the different skill sets and things that sometimes characters have in Dungeons and Dragons.
Well spoken.
Thank you. So this week, our garbage kid is a person named Paradox Lord Lion.
What? Paradox?
Yeah.
What was the last name again?
Lord Lion.
Lord Lion.
Yeah. Now, if that's not a fucking Kingdom Hearts character,
oh my god, that's like
come at me.
That's one of the Keyblade Warriors of Light.
And shit, now we're gonna get. Now we're gonna get.
I mean, redacted.
Copyright. Yeah. So anyway, no. We have it first. So when they inevitably include Paradox Lord Lion in like the like PS Vista game, like Kingdom Hearts.
I love the new Sony PS Vista,
like,
which is almost like the PS Vita, but they've added an S, so it makes it better.
And it's going to be an exclusive, and it's actually it's actually just weirdly enough, it's just a reboot of Galaga.
Interesting direction with the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Right, it's really just a Galaga reboot.
But Simple and Clean is playing on a continuous loop in the background.
And every time you shoot, it says, "Please, oh baby, don't go."
Yeah. Also, at the end, it zooms out, and your ship looked like Mickey's head the whole time.
I knew it. Yeah, I knew it.
That was the twist. But anyway, shit, where were we? So anyway, Paradox Lord Lion is a Triton who is a neutral good rogue.
Whoa, Triton.
Yeah, because I rolled a 97.
Nice. Got to pick your race.
And also, Paradox is noble. They knew who their parents were or are. They were born among people of a different race. They have no siblings, and they were raised by an orphanage because one parent was imprisoned, enslaved, or otherwise taken away, and the other disappeared to an unknown fate.
Damn.
They lived a poor lifestyle, but they did live in a large house. I don't know how that one worked.
I mean, orphanages were probably large if they have a large influx of kids.
I guess that makes sense. That's true.
Yeah, that checks.
They had a few close friends, and they lived an ordinary childhood.
That's good.
I know, right? That is pretty nice. They became a noble because their family recently came by its title, and that elevation thrust them into a new and strange world. I don't know how that happened after parents disappeared and got imprisoned or whatever.
Maybe they got adopted.
That's possible. All right.
Yeah, and then
you were really filling in these gaps, my man.
I know. I normally let the audience do that, but now I'm invested in Paradox.
They became a rogue because an assassin or thief wronged them, so they focused their training on mastering the skills of their enemy to better combat foes of that sort, which is
shit,
pretty hardcore origin story.
Yeah.
Their guilty pleasure is that they want a new ring on every finger. Their adversary is the pirate captain on whose ship they once served, and then when what they call moving up, the captain calls mutiny. And then their benefactor is a dragon that didn't eat them when it had a chance, and in return they promised to set aside choice pieces of treasure for said dragon. Now,
that's so sweet of said Triton and dragon.
Now here's the sad thing. This Triton Paradox is 20 years or younger, so they only have one life event, which is they encountered something magical, which was they saw a creature being conjured by magic.
Maybe it was the dragon.
That was their I like this. So anyway, that's Paradox. That's Paradox Lord Lion. This week's newest garbage kid.
Yeah.
So now when we're done with our garbage kids, we have to rank them, right? Because things like this need ranking. So our ranking is the most patent pending ranking ever. This patent has been pending for so long, mainly because I think the patent office is like, I don't know if we're going to let these boys do this, but we're still doing it anyway. Come at us. Would this garbage kid go into and shop at the Hot Topic? Cody,
so
your thoughts?
They definitely go into Hot Topic.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't buy. They steal that CD.
Whoa.
Or all of those Invader Zim rings that they wear on each finger.
Does Hot Topic still sell CDs?
Probably ironically.
I don't think they do anymore. They sell they replace CDs with Funko Pops, I think.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I mean they're the same thing basically because they're both worthless. Yeah, I would agree with
Killing
you.
me.
I would agree with you in that they would go in and steal, their favorite Funko Pops from their favorite animes, Naruto or Boruto, Naruto's dad, son's saga.
I actually like the idea that Boruto is Naruto's dad.
No, you didn't hear me. I said it was Naruto's dad's son's saga.
Ah, yes. Good old. I just wish there was an anime out there that
Where we learned about
talked about Naruto, Boruto's dad. I think that'd be really dope.
Yeah. You know what I wish there was?
Huh.
I wish there was an anime where you had to collect like 7 like pieces, like maybe like spherical things, like a ball perhaps of like a mystical creature. Like for instance a dragon, let's say. And if you collect all of them, then you could get a wish to do whatever you want in the universe.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I don't know if anyone's not done that, and it's also just Journey to the West. So anyway,
this is a good bit.
Yeah, you know what else I wish there was an anime of?
Yes.
There was an anime about a boy who wanted to become the king of the pirates.
You know. Uh-oh.
Dreaming.
No. Redacted.
Dreaming. Don't give
Redacted.
it up. Dreaming.
No, none of this.
Nah, man. Give it up. Give it up.
No,
it's fair use because it's for comedy or whatever. Breaking news: the Supreme Court said that Fan and Roulette cannot consider themselves comedy.
Yep. We are 2 genuine comedians.
That's true. I have my Yep. So, anyways, shall we talk about this last little section?
Yeah. So
anyway, this season we've been talking about powered by the Apocalypse system of games and franchises. Now everyone obviously like every one of these like little powered by the Apocalypse things has like different how would you say it, different like minutia of skills of things, right?
Yeah,
so, like,
they all have their different kind of
flavors,
tweaks and alterations of these core rule sets that you can find in the Simple World PDF. You could literally type in Simple World on Google or whatever your search engine of choice is, and you will find this basic kind of build your own RPG based on the system that we're talking about.
Yeah. But there's one thing that's kind of a common thing throughout, which is that one of the most interesting things I think about the Apocalypse World system is that failure is kind of baked into, or rather, there are mechanics for successes and failures. We spent, quite a lot of our lives talking about, or a lot of this podcast talking about Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's the main thing that we play. And like for Dungeons and Dragons, like success and failure isn't necessarily the most interesting aspect of that system, right? Like basically like the things that stand out is you have a 2 in 20 chance of rolling what is either called a 1 in 20 chance of rolling something that's called a critical success, where your character does something really, really, really dope, or a critical failure where your character does something really, really, really bad. So that's basically a 2 in 20 chance.
Fun fact about
happening.
Right, fun fact about the 1 in 20 in D&D, that only applies to combat.
Interesting.
It's fairly interesting that a lot of people will just put 1 in 20 as like the automatic crit and failure when it only works when you're making an attack roll. I know certain DMs will play that. I know at lower levels I like to do that because there's, it's not very often that you roll those numbers, but
yeah, for sure.
Anyways, that aside, carry on.
Yeah, and so I mean basically like the flavor in failing in D&D just kind of comes from the DM, right? So it's like you hit and like blood comes out and then you get to roll your damage, or you miss because like, the villain has like learned your swings, or like you haven't swung hard enough or things like that. However, in Apocalypse World, not only do success and failures matter, they can like fundamentally change aspects of the game, right? So, as we mentioned before, the Apocalypse system uses 2d6s, which you can literally reach into basically any standard board game that uses dice, and you could be ready to play, which is really cool. And I don't have the breakdown in front of me. It's like 1 to 6 is a failure, correct? 1 to 5 is a failure?
Yeah, it's 1 to 6. 1 to 6 is failure.
7 to 10 is mixed success, and then or 7 to 9 is mixed success.
7 to 9 is a mixed success, and then 10 plus
10, 11,
is
12 is a total success.
Right.
So if you're ever like looking at the different books or the Simple Worlds, PDF that we've been talking about, at least in terms of like something like Apocalypse World, because that's the one I played most recently, when you roll a certain thing, there will be like a list of questions, right? Or a list of options. And so if you roll a 10 plus, it will say you can ask upwards of 3 of these questions, and the DM has to be honest with you. If you roll a 6, 7, 8, or 9, or a 7, 8, or 9, then it's like you can ask 2 of these questions, and the DM can choose to answer which one, and maybe something not great happens. And if you roll 6 or lower, then it's like you can ask any question you want, but the DM gets to decide what happens next. So, for instance, when we were playing, a gentleman, one of the people in our party rolled a 5 when he was interrogating a guy, and the guy gave him a card, an 8 of diamonds, and said, if you take this to the bar, you'll be able to drink for free. And what it actually did was when he gave it to the lady at the front door, she took him aside to this room, and then he had to go into a very, very dangerous underground pit fighting ring because of how badly he insulted this guy. Now,
damn.
Yeah, if he had rolled a 6, 7, or 8, maybe he would have gotten information if he had rolled a 10 plus. But rolling a 6 or lower fundamentally changed this guy's whole day, basically, because now he had to do these pit fights. Whereas the other guy rolled highly and was not only able to go into the bar and drink, but found the NPC we were looking for.
Nice.
Yeah, so basically one of the things to think about is, what are things that you can do in your little world or in the mechanics of the game that are mechanically interesting / don't necessarily break or ruin the fun for your players, right?
Right.
So as you had mentioned, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, let's say you're flying a spaceship and you roll a 5 or lower, a 6 or lower. Perhaps your crew has to go through a very dangerous asteroid field, and your ship gets beat up really bad. You're not able to make it to the planet. Or if you rolled a 10 plus, not only does your crew manage to avoid it, you're able to get some special reads and find out that there's some weird energy signature coming from it that you can use to, improve your weapons or something like that. I just think it's really interesting that in this case, success and failure really impact your game in the long term, whereas in D&D, maybe it can become a point of frustration or something like that, but not always does it fundamentally change what is the situation you are in is. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, to a degree.
Sure.
I think what's nice about the Apocalypse system is that part of failure, so like you roll a 6 or lower, that is when the MC, as they're referred to in Simple World or Game Master or whatever, that's when they get to play. So like normally the Game Master is going through and immersing you in this world, following you around, asking you what you do about the problems presented. But other than that kind of role-playing stuff, they don't really do a whole lot, like in-game. When characters fail, that's when they basically shine. You get to, in most cases, you get to do what's called an MC move. Mm-hmm. And in Simple World, they list a bunch of them, but you can come up with your own. But some of them are like, like if someone fails, like you're investigating a spooky mansion and you're looking for information about why that person got murdered and you fail, you know, if it follows the fiction in kind of a logical sense, you could do things like separate the party members. Maybe they all find something interesting and they're all in separate rooms now. And that's when the monster strikes. Or, you know, maybe, you know, like you've said before, put them in a high stakes situation. Like, oh, now there's an asteroid field that you have to fly through and could be very dangerous. There's some obvious ones, like if you fail, deal harm. Like if you're in a battle or, you know, what have you. If you're in any kind of combat, it's very easy for failure to be like, okay, well, you take harm because you failed to be the badass that you were supposed to be.
Sure.
Another thing that is part of failure is basically taking away resources.
Yes.
So in your simple world game, and this is kind of a side tangent, but basically you're going to create resources like, you know, health or sanity if you're playing a Lovecraftian kind of game, or guts or honor. Or you have these different resources that players can accrue or, you know, they have to manage. And this is your time to be like, all right, you lose that resource. I'm taking this away from you. And what's nice is that's all hard. Like when you're building your game, like if you're using Simple World as like the example and you want to build your own thing, that's all hardwired in.
Yeah.
So sure. Like if you're ever like in a situation where like, Joe, you did something crazy. Like I wasn't expecting this. Like you ran into the room, pushed a table over, and guns blazing, took out all the guys in the room with your laser gun. And I was like, well, shit, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to happen
next. Yeah.
Well, you've already got it hardwired into your game. And that's what's nice about Simple World versus a game like Dungeons and Dragons, where sure, there might be some rules for combat, like D&D is a very combat-oriented game, but for all the other stuff, it's like, well, what happens if you fail an interrogation in D&D with the fantasy guy that you are, you know, holding captive? Oh, I don't know. The DM has to come up with something on the spot.
Sure.
Whereas in this game, it's all kind of laid out.
Yeah.
As you're building your game. And that's really nice because you don't have to spend time thinking about the what ifs of your world. You can just pull from a list and be like, okay, yeah, that's what happens, and move on. Like it's very quick and painless.
You don't have to call a 10-minute break and shoo everyone out of the room to rectify the situation that's just happened.
Right. But the same thing goes with
players.
Successes. Yep. Right? Is like you create moves for the players to do, and you have already written what a success means for that move.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah, it's super helpful. It removes the kind of guesswork that sometimes DMs have to go through, which can be a nice change of pace. Especially when you get those mixed successes, like 7 to 9. That's like a pretty weird spot, because for a lot of people, it's very easy to come up with like, what happens when you fail the thing that you're doing, right? Sure. Like, you don't do the thing. Or if you succeed, that's pretty easy. You do the thing. Cool. Like, that's awesome. You did it. But sometimes it's like, well, what about a mixed success? What does like, yes, I completed the thing, but something bad happens looks like? And that's where you get your MC moves or your DM moves.
Yeah.
And that's super cool.
I think
that's what I really like about the system.
I think a good example, something I always point to when someone asks me like, what would you, or if someone asks me what would you consider like a mixed success in media, for instance, I think a good one to always go for is like in A New Hope, where it's like they got out of the hallway with the stormtroopers, but now they're in the slowly compacting trash compactor.
Yep. Or maybe you're trying to block off, stormtroopers from getting into your room. So you shoot the panel on the wall and it shuts the door. But now the controls don't work and now you need to use them to do something else.
Yeah. Now you're trapped.
Yeah. So like it's the mix of, yes, that thing happens, but you get to put like a, what I believe most games call a soft move on top of that, like a yes but.
Yeah. Which once again helps to build the storytelling aspect of the game, which is pretty neat. I've always kind of been fascinated about how the success and failures in these games work, just because I think it creates a fun little dynamic not only for the MC, but for the players playing it, just to see kind of like, well, what does really happen next. So.
Yeah, and especially with a game that's supposed to be kind of heavily invested in the world and kind of role-playing, whereas games like, D&D, there's like a lot of rules and there's a lot of crunch there compared to a game like this. You're going to want... Right, there's like a rule for a lot of different things in D&D, but in this game, like, you want to keep things flowing, so having these things set up, like... That's a really neat part of when I flip through a game that's powered by the apocalypse. They usually follow these rules so that dungeon masters or game masters can do their thing without having to be like, I didn't prepare for you guys to fail this moment and stuff like that.
I didn't see that coming.
Exactly, which happens a lot.
Oh, for sure, because that's one of the things when you throw like a human element into a game where there's literally an infinity of choices.
Right.
So yeah, Powered by the Apocalypse. It's a cool way of dealing with something that sometimes can be a little daunting from the other side of the screen, I would feel.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly neat system, and if you're kind of building along as we kind of talk about the different things, like say you're going through it, like a big thing to consider is that the game master doesn't really play the same way that the characters do, So having hard moves or moves for the dungeon master when people fail, like that's when you shine.
Yeah.
So if you're building along, like that's something to consider when talking about success versus failure.
Agreed. Shall we wrap it up?
Of course.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to yet another episode of Phantom Roulette. As always, it's been a pleasure to record this for you guys to listen to. We want to thank you for giving us some of your time this week. As always, please feel free to go back to the mail section to hear about our social media and engage with the conversations that we've been throwing out there. Let's see. Any big questions this week for the fans?
Favorite part of Ocean's 11?
There you go. Favorite part of Ocean's 11 or a heist movie in general?
You know what? Let's favorite part of a favorite heist movie.
For sure. But yeah, so please join us again next week, where we're sure to be talking about more fun stuff. As always, please rate, review, subscribe. That helps us raise up the ranks. And signing off for Phantom Roulette, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.